Missed opportunities on active allyship. I think there are a lot here. We could go on for hours about opportunities that have been lost. And I think one of the things that we're doing here is creating an opportunity to talk about it. So looking back, what would you have liked to see in that allyship? What would have been a way to mitigate that fear of postal code?
I think, and not to try and oversimplify it, but for me, really, what needed to happen was a simple message back, which is, this is one of the communities that we play in every week. Our association plays out of that gym every week. This team has exemplary reputation with throughout the association, right? And I think just that message back, and then to also say is, to be able to say is, this isn't okay. We're not willing to entertain this. These are the principles we stand on, and we're not gonna do it. And call it. It's racist behavior, and we're saying no, right? And that didn't happen.
Yeah,
that didn't happen.
Call it out.
Yeah,
this isn't okay.
Yeah.
How tough is that to do?
It's incredibly tough because you're exposing yourself.
Yes.
And that needs to be acknowledged, and especially some of the roles that we have. In my role, I don't have the benefit of stop being Indigenous when I go home.
No.
I'm this all the time.
Yeah.
And when you're in that instance and in these roles, and especially in colonial constructed ones, you're often reliving trauma.
Yes.
And that's not accounted for, and that's why we need, the word ally gets thrown around a lot.
Yes.
And a colleague of mine I work with, the NSCC, she's like, I don't like that word because it gives you an out. We need accomplices. You need someone who wants to, when you talk about allies, I always go to allies though in the war, and we need people in the trenches with us taking shells and getting shots over the head and willing to put everything on the line because we're exposed outside of our communities.
That's right.
And we're targeted, and that has to be acknowledged, and we need help. And that it's not our mess to fix, teach you how to be anti-racist, or it's not our job to teach you what reconciliation is. All we can do is show you what, from our point of view, and how do you then embody it through your eyes, and if it's a part of the way of the life you want to live going forward, and not just checking a box or giving a land acknowledgement.
Yeah, Sarah Lynn.
I agree, Brady, absolutely, and I think the conversation also needs to shift in that this work can't always be reactive. That's not entirely allyship. That's not entirely reconciliation. It needs to be proactive, And that story, Darren, that you shared, that's the fear of the unknown.
Absolutely.
Fear of a location. Have they been there? Unlikely. So we have to do the work. Us, but also, our non-Indigenous communities, our non-Black communities, we all have to put in the work to be proactive and to make those connections and become familiar with each other and be engaged with each other. It's important we're talking today a lot about specifically for myself, the non-Indigenous community to be involved in, or the Indigenous community, to be involved in the non-Indigenous community, but the non-Indigenous community also has to be involved in the Indigenous community. We have to go physically into each other's communities and learn about each other and become friends because we need to have those relationships to move forward truly in reconciliation.
Isn't this what we talk about with our children on the playground? Isn't that what we say when we're, asking our children to be risky and talk to the new kid on the block? And why are we so afraid to perhaps go in spaces where we don't look like each other and we don't speak the same way of family or community? We play hockey a little differently. Why are we so afraid?
I think people are afraid because they see all of the trauma that we go through every day, whether it's subtle or whether it's blatant out in the open. We all kind of take it, deal with it in our own ways, and probably go back to the people that we trust the most to have those conversations. So to be an ally as someone who perhaps is not Black or not Indigenous, to all of a sudden be an accomplice and recognize that you're now stepping into that moment with us. And not only are you expected to step in that moment with us, maybe stepping in front or stepping beside, it's not just that time, it's forever. If you're going to be an accomplice for me, you are with me all the way through the rest of my life. It's not just in that moment. And so when you ask the question around why do people hesitate, it's because everybody knows
right.
all of the things that we go through and no one wants to deal with it themselves. So why would people want to step in? They maybe would prefer to just be an ally. Lots of times, I'm sure we all have people that come up afterwards saying, "Oh, you were so strong. Look at how you dealt with that."
Yes.
And you're like, "But where were you?" Right? And so I think all of us, our circles can get smaller and smaller and smaller, and we start realizing who our accomplices are. And those are the people that are like, "Yeah, I see what you're going through, and I'm going to be right there with you no matter what."
That's right.
I totally agree with Sarah Lynn said, that we know it has to come to a point where we stop being proactive and just we're reactive to everything that's happening, and we have to be a point where we're proactive. Something happens, a chain of events happens that eliminates and takes care of that situation, and unfortunately we're not there yet. I don't think we're still reacting to an awful lot of things that are happening. And I mean, I don't have all the answers on how to be proactive about it. I mean, allies are taking steps to be added, but again, they're only learning with reactionary stuff, and that's still happening to this day. And like we said, Razy said over there, I mean, we need people in the trenches with us. We need people willing to be in the trenches with us and taking those shots and taking all those hits that we take daily, because we can't stop being who we are. So my goal, hopefully, that all this reactionary stuff stops and that we're proactive and chains of events just happen, and then we can just move on from each event as happily as we can.